All right, so today we're in the section percents and proportions. Yesterday we learned percents and fractions, kind of converting them back and forth, and even converting to decimals. So we need to understand those conversions when it comes to applying that knowledge to actually solving proportions involving percentages. All right, so the first thing you need to write in your notes is the formula for solving percent problems. It's going to be A over B equals P over 100, where A, the key word for A is, and the key word for B is of. So we're actually going to use this setup that I'm writing in, the is over of equals P over 100. I think just it's easier to make the connection with those key words and to plug in the correct value when you see those words in the proportion. But just know that the variable that represents is A, and the variable that represents of is B, because you will use that variable when you're solving for the different parts. You'll see that in a minute as well. So you just need to write down both of these proportion formulas. They're the same thing, because is my keyword for A and of is my keyword for B. It's just a different way of writing it. Okay? Got it? Got your keywords down? What's my keyword for A? Is. What's my keyword for B? Very good. So now let's look at example 1, finding percent. The question says, what percent of 12 is 8? So the very first thing I do is not to rewrite the question, it's to write the original formula. Is over of equals P over 100. And now I'm going to go back to the question and figure out which value is my is value. And which one do you think it is? 8, okay? Is 8, so 8 is my is, and what is my of? 12. Equals P over 100. Now that I have my substitutions in place, I'm going to do cross products to solve for P. So 8 times 100 is 800. 12 times P is 12P. Does it matter, do you think, which side I write it on? Either way? No, as long as 12P is on one side and 800 is on the other side. Now divide both sides by 12, and P is 66.6 repeating percent. Okay, I prefer your answer as a decimal. Why? Why? Because it's already in a fraction in the original. So fraction over a fraction can get kind of testy, okay? So now if you said 66 2/3%, I wouldn't mark it wrong, okay? Technically your book even has that as the answer anyway. All right, any questions? Hayden, you with me? You with me? Okay. Any questions? All right, so now let's look at the second one. What percent of 80 is 25? The second question, what percent of 80 is 25? I want you to try to make the substitutions into the original formula. Remember, we're using is over of equals P over 100. Substitutions, what's my is value? What's my is value? 25. What's my of? 80 equals P over 100. Now I do my cross products. Have you done it yet?
Yes.
Okay, 2,500 equals 80P. P is 31.25%. Okay, so now in example 2, now I'm solving for a different part of the same percent type of problem. You'll notice that the wording is a little different. Now it says what number is 24% of 200. So I still start with my same general setup. Is over of equals P over 100. But now it's saying what number is. So I do not know my is value. Do you remember the variable that we use for is? Which variable? A. We use the variable A to represent is over what is my of value? 200 equals P over 100. I know that that's 24. I know my percentage. Now, we talked yesterday about when to convert it to a decimal when we're multiplying. We can plug 24 straight into the proportion because it's being divided by 100. So we don't have to do anything to it. We just plug it straight in for P because it's over 100, which represents the percentage. Okay? Don't have to do anything to it. All right, so now we do our cross products. 4,800 equals 100A. And by the way, every time you solve for A, it will be 100A because 100's always in the denominator. Okay, so 100A, divide both sides by 100, and A is 48. So here's how you can check if your answer is reasonable. Your A value should always be less than your B value, right? Because A is the part, B is the whole. Well, is A less than our B value here? Yeah, it is. Now look at the percentage, 24. Okay, what part of 100 is that? Is it half? Is it what? It's a fourth. So is 48 roughly 1/4 of 200? Is it roughly 1/4? Yeah. So I know that my answer is reasonable, okay? That's how I can kind of check and just make sure it's reasonable. If you want to know 100% if your answer is right, plug it back into the proportion and do your cross products and test your cross products. Now you're going to see 4,800 equals itself on both sides, and you're good to go. All right, so when you plug it back in and test it, both sides should equal, and you know you for sure got the right answer. All right, so it makes this even easier because there's a way to check. When you hand in your quiz, there's a way to know that you got them all right before it's even graded, okay, which is nice. All right, so now let's do another one. Let's see if you can plug them in the right spot. Is over of equals P over 100. What number is 56% of 315? We're working the second problem. All right, so we plug it in. We don't know A. What is B? 315. P is 56. All right, do our cross products. Divide by 100 both sides. And A is 176.4. Now, again, you can check to see if your answer is reasonable. This is about 50%. And 176, yeah, it's roughly half of 316 if I'm just eyeing it. Now, if you want to be sure, plug it back in for A, cross multiply, and you should get the same value when you cross multiply, and you know you got it correct. All right? Good for example 2. Who got that right? Who got it right? Good. All right, example 3 now. Of course, we've got to have a word problem, so we're going to throw a word problem in there. It says, in a heptathlon, an athlete earns points in 7 track and field events. Suppose an athlete earns 836 points in the 100-meter hurdles, so in just one event. This score makes up 16% of the total score. What is the total score? So I'm going to start, obviously, with my formula, is over of equals P over 100. But now I have to go back to the problem, and I have to look, okay, well, for sure, I know my percentage, right? So now I have to figure out, what are they asking me to solve for, A or B? What are they asking me to solve for? It says, what is the total score? Total. B. So 836 points is only one event. That's part of the total. Remember, A is your part. So, B is the total.
So 836 over is.
Yes. 836 over B equals my percentage over 100. All right, go ahead and finish it out. All right, so cross products. Divide. B is 5,225 points. Again, look to see if your answer is reasonable. Your total should be significantly more than the part. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, because the part only makes up 16% of the total. All right, so yes, my answer is reasonable. All right, so now this is more what it'll look like. Going back to like your sentences or your statements. 105 is 84% of what number? Of what number? So go ahead and plug it into your formula. Is over of equals P over 100. Plug it in, cross product, solve. All right, so substitution. Where does 105 go in? In for A, very good. That's my is value. And then I don't know B equals 84 over 100, cross products, divide. B is 125. B is 125. All right, and yes, it's bigger than my A, so I know I'm good there. And my answer is good. All right, so if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 7.2.